joining. Thank you, everyone. So I've started recording, and we're we are 1 minute past 6. I'm hoping people will join in soon because what we want to do today is quite hands-on and well, I'll be the only one hands-on. I mean, for the purpose of the master class, I'll be the only one probably doing the hands-on part of things, and every other person would most likely follow me. So we would also have the recording shared to people who are unable to join, or if you're going to have questions after. Right, thank you. I see it coming in. Wale is from England, manufacturing. Mercy is from England, healthcare. Read one from Lagos. I think it's petroleum industry. Blessing from Ibadan banking. Right, cool. So I see a mix of industries in the chat room, and that's good to see. So while we do that, I'm going to what's the word now? I'm going to tell us some of the ground rules, and I'm going to tell us some of the ground rules so we can have an harmonized kind of conversation this evening. Is that okay?
You are good at it.
Right, boss. Thank you very much. So, um, right. So let's keep it coming in the chat room. If you're just joining, we just started about 2 minutes ago. Well, about 5 minutes ago, actually. And we're introducing ourselves. Khadijat, your video is on. And is that a mistake? Right. Thank you. So if you're just joining us, please let's just know where you're joining from and the industry you're in. It's going to really, really help facilitate this class like seamlessly. Hey, Cynthia, mining sector. Right. Afolabi, I don't know why you're raising your hand. Do you want to ask a question or you want to say something? Right. So while we get that going, I'm going to pull up my slides and I'm going to pull up my slides for the purpose of this class. I want this class to be very interactive. So help me God, and I'm hoping to get our own cooperation also. So let's quickly do that. I'm still waiting for majority of our chats in the chat room, which I've not seen so much. However, I want us to wrap this up in another 1 minute so we can go to the meat of the conversation. Righty. All right. Khadijat is from Port Harcourt, waste management. Fantastic. Oluwaseun, financial sector. Busui, hey Busui, what's up? Good evening. I'm seeing some familiar faces. Christopher is in the insurance industry. Cynthia from Ghana. Okay, I've seen Cynthia before. Right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for telling me where you're coming from. Elijah is a maritime industry. Maritime. Oh, that sounds funky and bougie. I really don't know so much about the maritime industry. We have some time. Maybe I would learn more from you, Elijah. All right. Thank you. So I'm just going to go ahead to share my screen and we'll talk about why we're here today and what we intend to do. Okay, Abiodun from Abuja. Right, cool. I think I'm familiar with Abiodun also. All right, so let's get it started. Please let me know once you can see my screen. By the way, I'm going to be sharing my entire screen because there are a lot of screens I'm going to be showing us today, and I'm hoping to God that I'm not going to share anything incriminating. But if you find anything that you shouldn't see, please just carry eyes away. Right. Thank you so much. Afolabi from Ogun, event and urban planning. Thank you. Right. So I'm sharing my screen in 1, 2, 3. Right. Please let me know once you can see my screen and I'll just get it going. Adeni, can mic check? Are you on the call?
Yes, I can see your
Hi,
screen.
Tayo. I'm here. Good evening.
Hello, good evening. So
Good
some
evening,
people are going
everyone.
to be joining, and I might have left that screen. So please help me admit them. Let me make you a co-host. Give me 1 minute so I can quickly do that. So I won't have to be coming back and forth, back and forth. Just give me 1 minute. Let me quickly make you a co-host. So wait, Adenike, please raise up your hand so I can quickly see you. This is taking forever to find you here. Just raise your hand. Raise your hand. You're clapping your hand. Oh, Adenike. Raise them. Thank you very much. That was okay. I'm going to lower it and quickly fix something here. All right. So Adenike, I've added you as a co-host. So other people may want to join the room while I'm sharing my screen and I may not see them. So please just admit them. Thank you very much. Right. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. And we're just going to have a brief conversation about why we are here today. And I also want to have a feel of the room. What do you understand by data analytics? Because we want to do some kind of data analytics exercises here on the call today. And then we'll quickly get into the real case studies that we want to review. Right. So please, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Right, thank you. All right, so my name is Oluwatayo. I'm the founder and lead trainer at Techlytics, which is a technology workforce development and consulting company. And what we basically do is in two phases. We train individuals with in-demand skills for the future of work. We want to prepare people for the future of work because there are a lot more problems that needs to be solved that human beings like you and I need to solve them. So we revel in the fact that we're also in tune with emerging technologies and we're able to train individuals. It stems from my passion from wanting to do impactful work. Prior to now, I didn't used to be in tech, and then tech caught up with me, and I'm like, whoa, why not? Why not? And I'm enjoying this. Why not just take other people along the journey? So that is a part of Techlytics where we do ed tech, where we're able to train people or we're able to train professionals, basically majorly professionals who are looking to transition or who are looking to improve on their skills at work. Also, the other part of Techlytics is the consulting bit where we're able to work with enterprises, corporate startups who wants to who has an idea, they want to develop a product, we're able to work with them from the scratch until they go to market. Or if there's an enterprise you want to digitize your or automate your operation or your daily operation process, we come into that space and we support and facilitate that process. All right, so majorly what we do currently, we train on data analytics and we train on product management. So, and that's why you're here today. Now, this is a problem we're solving. I've summarized that, and this is a solution. I've also summarized that. Right. So we've had some traction since its launch. Techlytics basically launched in 2020 in the middle of COVID. But I started with YouTube tutorials, creating YouTube tutorials for people back then, and from then it has evolved. Yeah, there was on and off. I must confess, there were times I'm like, well, I just want I don't want to do anything. At the other times, I was able to pick my pace and build a team around it, and I'm happy. Some of my team members are on the call right now with me, and we're going to be doing this training together. So these are my fantastic ladies. Trust me, we didn't intend to be all the ladies. It just happened. We are looking for men, but really we didn't intend to all the ladies. So that is Jedida. Jedida is the product manager here at Techlytics. Mary is a graphics designer. Anything that is beautiful visually, Mary does it. And this is Adenika. Adenika is an in-house data analyst, and she's also on this call with me. So these are my fantastic team members. We didn't intend to be women, but it just happened. So it's not a women thing, please. It just happened to be, and we are looking forward to having more, maybe men, as time goes along. So, all right. So thank you for your attention. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. I'm going to ask us a few questions, and I'm hoping to be able to give some clarity to one or two things as against as regards the world of data analytics that we're in. So I want to check with us, once you hear about data analytics, what comes to mind? Because it's like it's everywhere. Everybody just talk about data, 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 data. But I just want to hear our thoughts and feel our pulse. What comes to mind when you hear the word data analytics?
Making sense. Hello, can I?
Go ahead, Khadija, go.
Khadija speaking. Making sense of huge amount of information that you have, either making it the information, visualizing it
Okay.
for understanding, or putting it into, okay, graphics would also mean visualizing it, yeah.
Yeah.
So try making sense of data to get like specific information.
Okay, cool. So Khadija, so let me quickly take it on that. Making sense of information, making so somebody probably a novice hasn't heard something like that. Be like, okay, so how do I even get? People have been saying data. How do I get data? I've had somebody who had to ask me, what do you mean by data? Is it very similar to the MTN data I subscribe to? What is data? How do I get it? So how would you explain that? How does that resonate with you?
Data it's like unprocessed information. It's raw.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Khadija. That is a fantastic one. Thank you. Mercy, I can see your hand is up. Go for it.
Okay, when I hear data analytics, first
Mm-hmm.
thing that comes to my mind is Power BI. Probably
Power
because
BI. Okay.
I'm scared of going into coding or whatever. But when I hear
Okay.
data analytics, okay, or analysis, it's like, okay, these guys are write code to, sort a large pool of data and then try to make meaning from a large pool of data. So Power BI and then coding.
Interesting. Nice. Thank you. Thank you for that honest answer. I love it. Thank you. Any other person wants to tell me what comes to mind when they hear data or data analytics? What comes to mind? Any other person before I wrap it up and we go into what we want to do today? Okay, all right. So, Mercy said, I know Mercy has Bola, so I wanted to say like Bola said, like Mercy said,
Anyone is fine, actually. Anyone
all
is fine.
right, like Mercy said, she what comes to her mind is Power BI, right? For people on this call who do not know what Power BI is, Power BI is one of Microsoft's products. It's a visualization tool, very powerful stuff. So that's what comes to her mind when she hears of data. Other people, when they hear of data, in all fairness and honesty, what comes to their mind is tools. And the first thing they ask you is, oh, SQL, right? Python, R. They basically associate it with tools. But no, data analytics is not about the tools. I can confidently tell you that data analytics is never and has never been about the tools. It's never about it too, but that's a misconception around data analytics. It says, oh, if you have not started using Python, are you even a data analyst? If you have not learned how to use Tableau, or if you've not used R, you're not a data analyst. Those are misconceptions, and it can be misguided because that could discourage another person who wants to, carry out a data analytics project and say, because I don't know how to use Python, I can't be a data analyst. And that won't be correct. Right. So data analytics, first of all, is never about the tools. It's like Khadijat and Mercy had said earlier. Khadijat majorly had said earlier, it's not about the tool. It's like you're trying to make sense of something. Right. So somebody else's hand was up, but I guess maybe that was in an error. So let's quickly continue. So it's never about the tool. Olakweju, is that a mistake or you really wanted to raise your hand?
I actually wanted to raise my hand, but I found out that you had moved on from there, so that's why.
Okay, let's quickly take it. What
I
would you
wanted
like
to
to
say
say?
that if I hear about data, the first thing that comes to my mind is everyday events. Like
Okay.
what happens every day is what forms data, is what forms the raw information. Like Khadija said, for
Mm-hmm.
example, now if I want to take data of those that supply a particular road. I'll be
Mhm.
looking at the number of cars, the type of cars, something like that. So everyday events is what
Nice.
comes to my mind first when I hear
Nice.
about that. That's what I
Thank
wanted to
you.
say.
Thank you, Kweji. That was very helpful because I was just going to go for that to talk about sources of data, because the word data has become very what's the word now? It has become almost everywhere, and people are people are probably even unable to figure out what exactly is data. So, like Olakweji was saying, if she wants to figure out the amount of people that is passing a particular route, of course, we have traffic lights all over the city. That data is sitting somewhere. Some of these traffic lights have cameras embedded in them, right? Which means they'll be taking snapshots at one point or the other. They can tell you the frequency, or they can tell you one or two things, right? That's a data source. The fact that I can hold my phone and say, "Hey Google, what's weather like today?" or "What will weather be like tomorrow?" and Google will go and look at AccuWeather or something. AccuWeather is the source of the information Google Assistant would be giving me, right? Before you came onto this call, you probably have seen an Instagram ad or an email, and it made you make that decision to say, "Oh, I want to come to this. I want to come to this session," right? So data is all around you. Anything that would prompt you or that would make you take a decision, data, really raw facts. Anything that has to be raw facts. Of course, they could be numerical, they could be text, they could be images. So they are data. So a lot of people have kind of associated data with numbers and numbers alone. And that would be wrong, right? Because data is just artifacts. It could be images, it could be text, it could be, it could be figures, like you rightly said, right? So data can be anything. Just think of it as raw information, or raw facts rather. Then you eventually process it to become information. Of course, we did this in basic computer science when we were younger, right? You can then refine it, and that's the analysis process. So first of all, data is raw facts. You probably pick the fact from traffic lights, the traffic light sources, or you're picking it from your report card or the assignment your teacher has marked. It's just raw facts, right? Then you gather those data. You can now start cleaning. Oh, okay, you now see that, oh, there is missing values, or this data is supposed to be in capital letter, is in small letter, this one is supposed to be blank, and then you now start the process of thinking of, okay, let me clean this data, let me transform it to standardize them. The ones that are supposed to be in lower cases, let them be in lower cases. They want to be in upper cases, let them be in upper. So that process of you trying to make the raw facts that you have standard, it's called your transformation process. So you collect the data, then you transform it, then you can then load it. Now your loading can now take different shapes and form. Your loading can be, oh, you want to load it to Power BI, like Mercy was saying earlier, right? So for you to have even thought of Power BI, you're already thinking of towards the later end of the data analysis journey itself, right? So you can then load it to whatever. You can load it back into a spreadsheet Excel as a table, and it looks very organized, neatly arranged. Then you can now start making sense of it. So let me now analyze it. Okay, so what was the total number of sales from yesterday to today? You can now start seeing it clearly, seeing things clearly, because until they are clean, until it's been transformed to something that can make sense, you also can make sense of data, right? So basically, that's a preamble into what data analytics is. And today we will talk about data transformation. And one of the tools that we're going to be, the major tool we're going to be using is Microsoft Excel, that I can bet with us, almost everybody on this call has used Microsoft Excel before at one point or the other. So we're not alien to it. Neither is Microsoft Excel also alien to us. Of course, they come in different versions. The version I'm going to be demoing with is the Office 365. Also, I usually like to encourage people, if you're using Microsoft Excel, as much as possible, use the updated version. If you're not using 365, of course, the latest we have is 2021. I think another one is due in 2024. Then the one before then is 2019. So if you have Office 2019, Office 2021, or Office 365, you would be good. But if you're having something like 2016, 2013, you are way far behind. Some new updates may not be available in those versions, but 2021 is fine. 2019 is also fine, but 2019 is like 5 years ago. So they really make updates to those things, but why do you want to go back to 5-year-old technology? So I usually would advise 2021 is fine, and Office 365 is also a great one. So on the call today, I'm going to be using Office 365. So I want to paint a scenario. So let's assume, let me look randomly. Let's assume maybe I should pick Khadija again, right? Khadija, you just got a job. You just got a job as a financial analyst or finance analyst in a firm, in a maybe a stockbroking firm, and you necessarily need to be making reports, or you need daily reports of the prices of Nigeria, or of prices of equities on Nigerian stock exchange. How would you think of getting this data out? Because knowing that stock prices are dynamic, they change by the minute. How do you think you will be able to get this out, Khadijat? I think there are two Khadijats in class. I can't remember the one that answered the question earlier, but if Khadijat is not available, I'm throwing the question open to the entire class. Let's assume Khadijat again, who is a new finance analyst or investment banker who just resumed her job, how would she be able to make these daily reports to her boss or whoever is asking? They want to see the stock prices of Nigerian equities. They want a report of everything on a daily basis. Anybody? There are no right or wrong answers. So
Okay, can she look through previous as in previous documentation to be able to come up with her own documentation and all?
Okay, when you say previous documentation, what do you mean?
There should be like a book or ledger for all of those recordings earlier on before she resumed her work.
Okay. Khadija, are you an accountant?
No, I'm not, but I run a business.
Okay. Because when I heard ledger, and I'm like, what do accountants people? Okay, good. Thank you so much. Thank you. That was a great attempt. Let's hear Mercy also.
Okay. From my own point of view, I think the first is going to be from research, and there are open sources for data. There are websites and places you can access free data that are put out there. If you want to know anything about Microsoft, everything, including their employees, turnover, everything is on the internet. So if I'm the one and they want to know, I would try and access open sources, and then I would also ask if I can have access to probably information from the company itself, if they have documentation, and then I can now come up with my own findings that, okay, being online and then from the company, this is what I've arrived at, and then open to other contributions or whatever.
Okay, thank you so much, Mercy. But remember, this is a daily report, so would you be doing that every day?
It's a daily thing.
Yeah, it's stock prices, and your boss wants to be having the summary of what had happened on the market every day.
So there's a stock market listing online. Like even right now as we are speaking, if I want to know anything about stock price today, I can just go online and then see trending.
Yeah, I totally understand that, but your boss wants it as a report. He doesn't have the luxury to be going through the entire NSC website by himself, right? So I'm going to call some other people's hands who are up in the chat room, because I want us to have a broad context of the problem before we. I want everybody in there. I also want to be able to get a feel of how everybody's thinking about to solve the task. So thank you so much, Mercy. I'm going to call on. There was a Zelia whose hand was up before. Do you want Adiola to go? Zeliat, your hand was up before. Okay, Adiola, go for it.
Okay, good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yep, loud and
All
clear.
right, okay. So and I think I'm going to use a scenario, just something like what I do in the office. So it's called database. You understand? I think the company should have an existing database, and also for a company to be requesting for a daily report, all you need to do, I'm very sure that there should be, the company should have an existing reporting kind of sample. One, I'm new in I'm new in the office, so I want to be able to see what they have done before and what I'm expected to do. So if there are database, then I'm going to use the database. I'm going to get information from online, especially if there is an app, because basically, if it is going to be a daily kind of report, there should be an application that I will be downloading all my raw data from. You understand? So
Okay.
when I download all my raw data, that's only when I can process it into simpler form. You understand? Breaking down the raw into what the company actually want to see. You understand? So I think if I'm right, I don't know, maybe I
Yeah,
get your question.
there are no right or wrong answers. Don't worry. All right, thank you so much, Adiola. I mean, you've already walked us through how you would solve the problem that is, and have maybe download it from an app on a daily basis. You have to be downloading. Correct? Is that correct, Adiola?
Yes, yes,
All
exactly.
right, cool. So let's hear Afolabi's thoughts. Afolabi, go for it. Yes, go for it. Unmute your mic. Or are you not Afolabi Samson? Afolabi Samson, please unmute. Is he having internet challenges?
Hello.
Hi,
Yeah, can you hear me properly?
loud and clear.
Yeah, from the last speaker that just spoke just now, she's already nailed all what data analysis means. But from my own point of view, in solving the problem, there should be the classification of those varieties of goods in that company. So to me, it should be analyzed in a different forms, maybe the year of series and how daily income it is.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, that's my point.
Thank you, Afolabi. Thank you so much. So Afolabi, what industry are you in?
I'm into event planning and
Event
photography.
planning and photography. Nice. That's why your headshot is very fine and is sharp. Thank you. All right. So I because you approached it from goods and services, that is maybe physical. It's I love that thinking approach. Yes, thank you. Right. So let me quickly step in. So Khadija just resumed her job, and her boss wants to know stock prices on a daily basis. That is what today is 21st. What did the market open with? What did the market open with when it comes to MTN stock? How much is it as of today? What did the market close with? So um Khadija's boss wants to see that. What did he open with yesterday? What did he close it with yesterday? Khadija wants to see that. Khadija's boss also wants to be able to see all of that daily reports, right? So if MTN Nigeria's stock price is 100 naira, which is not 100 naira, but for the purpose of this conversation, let's say it's 100 naira. Maybe open with 100 naira and close with 105. Khadija's boss wants to be able to see it real time. Khadija boss doesn't want to be going to NSC website, or let's say another maybe Trove or another stockbroking house website to be checking things one by themselves. That's one. That's on. Let's say it's a stock. I had to use the example of stock market because it's very dynamic and price change almost every minute. It could also be a weather forecast, because weather can also be funny, right? That may not be every minute, but you could want to have a report of weather forecast, maybe daily weather forecast, or a weekly weather forecast. So I'm basically trying to bring it to your fore to say there are some tasks that they are repetitive, and even if you were to be doing it on a daily basis, the same thing is the same process you will be repeating every day. So how would you approach, or how would you tackle it and put it in a comprehensive report? Perhaps much more than that report, there are other reports that you put together. That there are other reports that you put together for your company, or as a as a report. So let's quickly look at how we can use Power Query to automate this particular reporting. So what Power Query is going to do for us, and trust me, if you're using Microsoft Excel from 2016, you should have access to Power Query already embedded in your Microsoft Excel application or your Microsoft Excel software. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be connecting Excel's Power Query to the website. We're going to be taking data directly from that website. We're going to be feeding it into Microsoft Excel. And of course, we're going into Microsoft Power Query, and we're going to visualize that data and look at it, okay, because again, remember of the data sources that I talked about, and there are times you get data from those data sources. In this case, in our own case, we want to get our data sources from the web, which means there are times by the time you get that data from the web, it can be dirty. That we'll look at it together. That is, there may be some inconsistencies in the data where they're supposed to be 0, maybe you have null, or where they're supposed to be 0, you have dash, or you have blank spaces, or you have where it's supposed to be capital letter, you have small letter, those data can be dirty, or you have trailing spaces, or some things are just, jagged, wobbly. So those are dirty data. So because it's from the web, you may have to clean it, and that's some form of transformation. So that we're going to have to do together, and we're going to load it into Microsoft Excel and make a beautiful report out of it. All right? Are we good? Are we still together, guys?
Yeah, we are together. I can hear you.
Right, boss. So again, my plea is I'm sharing my screen again, is my entire screen. If you see anything incriminating, well, I don't have incriminating stuff on my laptop, but I'm just saying so that you will know that Tayo has said if you see anything incriminating, don't take it to heart. So I'm going to close. I just want to start on a fresh note, and so let's just assume I'm going to launch my Microsoft Excel from the scratch, and we're going to see how. All right, so I'm launching my Microsoft Excel, and we're going to go to, and we're also going to look at the Nigerian Stock Exchange website. So these are 3 or 4 websites that I've loaded before now. There are a lot of things there are a lot of other use cases for Power Query, but today we'll just quickly look at equities price list. Now, you could want to look at phone prices or prices of commodities on Jumia. So I'd already loaded Jumia also. We could, if we have some time, we could explore it, or you do it as an assignment, and you probably send it in via email or post it on social media and tag us so we can review and see how you're getting better. So you could want to even do a competitor analysis. That is, you want to compare the price ranges of phones and tablets on Jumia with phones and tablets on Konga, right? And you want it to be dynamic because the price of this Oraimo 27,000 milliamps power bank that we're seeing right now at 17,500, tomorrow it might have changed. So which means it's dynamic, that it can be changing over time. You don't have the luxury of time to be coming to Jumia's website every now and then to be checking this price. You can connect it into an Excel report. Once you can use Power Query to connect it into a report, and with a click of a button, you say refresh, and the thing comes and just loads everything for you. You can have that done for Jumia. You can have it done for Konga. We have equities price list here. And I also have weather reports from World Weather. So, but today, let's look at Nigerian Stock Exchange. So you could, again, remember our story is a financial analyst or an investment banker. So we want to focus on equities price list. You can also, God knows the kind of report you're doing. Let's say your report extends to, you're going to give them price list of equities price list, bonds price list, ETF price list, or mutual fund price list. All of these are investment instruments. Basically, I'm not entirely sure everybody on the call have a great understanding of how the stock market works. However, I'm just going to keep it simple to equities price list alone. So you can replicate the same process or whatever it is we do with equities price list, with bonds, with ETFs, with mutual funds. Right, so let's stick with equities price list. What by equities price list, it means today is 21st of September, and I'm just going to set this cookie. Today is 21st of September. So let's look at, it basically means the companies in Nigeria that are publicly traded, that is the PLC companies, you're seeing them and you're seeing their stock price or their share prices here. So let's look at our Access Corp, or what we know as Access Corporation, or what we know as Access Bank. So you're looking at the previous closing price, the opening price as of today, the highest price it traded at, the lowest price it traded at, the close. So previous closing price as of yesterday was 17 naira 20 kobo. It opened with the same amount, and during the trading activity or during the trading period, it got to 17 naira 30 kobo. You know, market is very dynamic. Things are always going to go up and down, and it has the lowest point. Again, it's for the day, for this particular trade date at 16 naira 90 kobo. So you can imagine if you needed to give this as a daily report for all the prices or all the stock, it will be you will be angry, because you don't even have the time to be doing all of this. Another person will say, I don't have issues now. At the end of each closing period, at least the stock market closed at 2:30 or maybe 3 p.m. I can't really remember now. Some people would say, oh, I'll come here, I'll copy it and I'll paste it in Excel and I'll make my report. But which basically means you have to do, so if you do that today, 21st of September, you do that tomorrow, you do that next tomorrow, and you keep doing this on a daily basis, which you can automate it. It's a boring stuff. If you ask me, it's very boring and it's not a best use of your time. So let's see how we can connect Excel to this website, pull this data into Excel, and by tomorrow, maybe I'll share this data with us, or you can practice by yourself at a later time. By tomorrow, because trades are always happening every day, except it's on a public holiday or weekend, because trades are always happening every day. Just go back to that same Excel sheet where we have it. I'll show you. Click refresh, and you see that the new prices would have been populated. So you can use that to build your dynamic report or to make things for yourself. So I've opened my Excel. Let me just pick a blank workbook, and here. So what we want to do is to get data. We want to basically use Power Query to get it. So under my data tab here, we're already, I believe, we're familiar with this interface. My data tab here, I'll come to get data. I can come to get data, but I can always get and transform data group. And I can see from web, so which means import data from a web page. So let's quickly attempt to import that data from a web page. Why is that taking forever? All right, so Excel is asking me what is the URL. One fun fact, maybe not fun fact, something that you need to put in the back of your mind is whatever URL you want to specify, it should be publicly accessible. So it's not a web app where you need to log into and provide your credentials so that Excel can actually see it, right? So I'm going to go, because it's public, I'm going to pick the URL of that particular page, and I'm going to copy it and come and put it here. All right, so I'll say okay, and it will try to create a connection to that website. Of course, I have to be using internet, so which means I also have to be online. All right, so it's trying to establish a connection, and that's loading. Right, so automatically it has created a connection, and this new window that you see pop up on my screen is called the Power Query Editor. So the Power Query Editor, it's an extended functionality within Microsoft Excel. That is, as it is loading right now, we'll do some work inside it. I'm not working in the Excel environment. I'm working in an extended, I'm working in another environment that is Excel related, and they work hand in hand together. So this is Power Query, and this is taking a while. I don't know why that is. All right, so Power Query has connected to that website and has tried to scan or try to look through the entire website and see the kinds of tables that are present or available in that website. For the purpose of this conversation, we're only interested in the tables of the equities price list. So it has seen a lot of tables, but we can actually preview to see the one we want to pick. So I'm going to click on table 1, and it's giving me that preview. So we can see quickly that where that web environment we're coming from, Excel has picked it and put it in a Microsoft Excel table that you and I are probably familiar with. So you can see table view, you can see web view, it can give you the web view to say, oh, this is where I'm picking these things from, right? So, but with the table view we're interested in, right? So you can see the company, the previous closing price, opening price, the high, low, close, just where we're coming from, right? So you can basically say pretty much this sense. That's what you want. That's what you want to see, right? So the other tables are not entirely fantastic. So what I'm mostly interested in is table 1. So this table 2, I'm not interested in it because it doesn't have the content of what I need. The same thing with table 3, I believe. Yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead with table 1 because table 1 is what I want. So if I wanted to select more than one table, I could, but since it's only table 1 I need, I'm just going to select table 1. And now you have these 3 options here, or these 2 options here. You have load and or transform data. Now, if I wanted to load it back into Microsoft Excel to say, okay, oh, that's what I want to, just give me back in Microsoft Excel tables and let me start analyzing, I could do that. However, I don't want to load it into Excel just yet. I want to transform it. It's just the normal English word transform. Transform basically means I want to clean it, or I want to tweak 1 or 2 things before I load it back into Excel. So this time around, because I want to tweak 1 or 2 things, because I actually need to tweak. So look at things like you can see some iPhone here, like 2 dash, not even iPhone, I don't know, 2 dash. So that's the part where I say you want to probably standardize your data and make them, make it on a common playing ground. So the places where you see dash, probably there's supposed to be 0 there. But for a weird reason, because you're copying from the web, these things happen. You can see null, null, null. That's not readable. That's not a good thing you want to see in a report. So all of those tweaking that you may want to do, let's quickly do it inside Power Query before we load it back into Excel. So I'm going to click Transform Data. And some people who are using old versions of Excel, I think you will see something like edit or something. But again, like I said earlier, it's always helpful to use the newer versions because some more updates have been deployed. Now let's look at what this view looks like. It looks like Excel. Well, it's not Excel. And again, if you're going to, it's going to be very helpful. This knowledge is also very helpful and handy for you if you're going to be using Power BI in the near future. Of course, near future can be next week, because this is very similar to the Power BI interface when you're doing your data transformation and the applied steps that is on the right like this. All right, I digress. So here you can see the list of the company stocks. You can see the previous closing price. You can see the opening price, the high price, the low price, and I'm just going to move forward. So you can see the change, that is change from yesterday till today, the closing price, the number of trades, the volume. So let's examine each column one after the other, and let's see the things that are not important and the things we need to tweak. So for the company name, pretty much there's barely anything we can do about it. Their name is their name, right? Previous closing price. So there is something called, when you're doing data transformation or what you want to clean data, you also need to be aware of the data type and what you necessarily need to see. So for example, by data type, if the data type you're expecting in that column is supposed to be numbers, that is numerical values. However, when you're in Excel or in Power Query, maybe the Power Query is identifying it as a text, then you can change it or have to transform it to, no, the data type that should be here should be numbers, so change it to numbers, right? In other cases, it can be date, and it's probably identifying it as a text. You want to tell it to change it to date. There are times it can automatically detect, other times it cannot. So previous closing price, you can see it has brought it out in all numbers. However, you may want to say it should recognize it as a currency. So I'm going to click on this 1.2 that is behind it. That's where the data type is. I'm going to tell it to say, tell me in currency format. So basically, I want to tell it to say, give me in currency format. Basically, of course, in Power Query Editor, it's not going to put the symbol. When we get to Excel, we can put it in symbol. I mean, for this particular demo that we will do. So we have this dialog box asking me that, do I want to add it as a new step, or I should replace the current step? Just so that I have a log or an history of what I'm doing with this file, I'm going to say you should add it as a new step so you can log it on this right-hand side of the screen. So I'm going to say you should add it as a new step, and you can see that Excel has logged that I changed type 1. So in case I want to revert it and say no, undo it, I can undo it and it reverts it back to that. So I'm going to go again and say, tell me in currency, and I'll say add it as a new step, and it's basically, so basically the currency bit is just standardize it to 2 decimal places. Now, opening price, because it is price again, I want to tell it to identify it as a currency. So I'm going to do the same thing here and say identify this guy as a currency. And that has also been done. Now, here it basically speaks about high, that is, and high and low. They are also speaking to price. However, if you look closely, Excel or Power Query has identified this column, or the entire data in this column has a text. That's why you see this ABC beside it. That's identified it as a text, but it's not a text. But it is you and I that know that it's a text. Now we can all see what's the word now? The place where humans can never really be replaced. Everybody was panicking. Oh, AI is coming to take our job. But that's maybe the job of somebody that is not very important. But you and I know that if you do good work, AI is not coming for your job. So let's look at this. Excel has probably Power Query looked at it and saw all this iPhone mixed up with numbers. I'm like, well, everything is text job, but you know it's not text, right? That's what makes you superior. So we're going to look at it and tell it to say it's not text. The reason you're seeing it as text is all of this hyphen. Now, so this is what I'm going to do. We're going to replace, because these iPhones in the real sense, because you're the one that understands what this data is, these iPhones are best left as zeros or empty, because nothing is there. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to replace everywhere it sees this iPhone there, or these two dashes, we're going to replace it with 0, right? So here, while I'm on the Home tab in the Transform group, I will say Replace Values. And Excel would Power Query has automatically detected, because I highlighted that particular iPhone. So this value is iPhone, and I want to say, I can either say replace it with nothing or replace it with 0. So because I want us to perform analysis on it later on, I'll say replace it with 0, and I'm going to say okay. Now, everywhere it sees those hyphens, it has replaced it with 0. But yet, this guy is still telling me it's in text. But I want to tell it back to say it's not text, it's currency. So I'm going to change this to currency, and we can see that it is now well aligned to the right. The same thing, I'm going to repeat the same thing for the lower. I'm going to say replace values, and I'm going to say 0, and I'm going to say okay, and I'm going to tell it to say it's currency, and I'm going to move faster now. So we finish this transformation and we load it to Excel. Now, this is closing price. It's seeing it as decimal places, but I just want to standardize everything to be in currency, the ones that are currency. So I'm just going to put that there. The change basically means what's the price difference between yesterday and today. So there are some that will come as 0, because in truth they are 0. So let's look at the ones that have null. So you can see the opening price was 2 naira and the closing price was still 2 naira. So which means the percentage change is 0. So it's safe to assume that everywhere you see null is 0 the guy wants to write. So let's help it to also replace that value to 0. And so anywhere you see null, please give me 0. And there we go. And so the percentage, or how much has been lost now is in is well standardized now. So let's attempt to change it to currency. Right, so we can see 0.01 minus 0.01, that is, of course, the normal math. It closed at a lower price than it closed yesterday. So these other bits are volume, that is the total number that was sold. It's not currency, but it is just all numbers. So I'm just going to say all numbers, and the value is currency. Okay, I attempted to change it to all numbers, and the ones that are zeros there, it changed them to error because it couldn't read them as numbers. So I'm going to revert this step, and first of all, take those iPhones, right? Take them back to zero because I don't want to see those error. I don't like seeing error in my data set. So I can imagine if your other stakeholders will also not want to see the word error in your report. So I'm going to replace that with zero, like we've been doing before. So that then I can take it to the old number that I wanted to take it to. Right. So that looks a bit cleaner. The same thing for value. So volume is the count. The value here is supposed to be. So again, I'll quickly replace these values with zero again because it's zero, and I'm going to take this to I think currency. Right. So all of this step-by-step process that we're doing, what you're doing is you're transforming this data. Some of us will probably have heard stuff like ETL process. So maybe somebody is, maybe you're listening to a presentation and somebody keeps saying ETL, and you're like, what ETL? You probably have heard extract, transform, and load. Extract is what we've just done by connecting or extracting this data from the NSE website. So we've extracted. Transform is what we're doing currently, and we'll soon do the load. So extract, transform. So if anybody asks you tomorrow, do you know about ETL processes? Just tell them yes, right? Because this is an ETL process, right? So we're transforming. Now the last one is date, and Excel has done a good job to identify this as date. So we already have it as date. So so we're done transforming all we want to transform. You may also, if you have any other thing, let's say you want to rename a column, or you want to delete a column, you can also do that. I don't have anyone I want to rename or delete here. So I'm going to go ahead to load it back into Excel. Now, you'll see under the Home tab, or you see close and load to. For the purpose of this class, we just do close and load. Close and load to, maybe, if we don't have the time. All right, that's if you want to build a data model and you want to create some connections, okay, between tables. So let's just close and load, and you can see on the right, you're seeing something like queries and connections. Basically, what this means is this data itself is actually not sitting inside your Microsoft Excel. Excel is just pointing or connecting, pulling it from NSE website. So if by tomorrow I come back to this workbook and I press the refresh button, it will pick the current price as of tomorrow. It will pick it and update this worksheet. If I come next week and I want to, so which means you as the finance analyst, you don't have issues anymore. Once your boss says they want it, you will just press refresh button, the thing will refresh, and you just present your data. You just need to do this process of transforming once. So that guy is loading, and you can see we have it looking beautiful in our Microsoft Excel in a table format. Now, that is it, and we 25 rows. So in the page we were on, on NSE website, we were loading by 25. Let me show you that. So if you come to our price list, so you will see show 25 entries. So that's what we have called, and that's what has come back to us in Excel. And if you over this guy, you would see it would basically tell you the data sources is actually loading, and it's telling you the time it was last refreshed. So if by tomorrow morning around 11 a.m. or around 12 p.m. when the market is open, because that data would have changed, you can come here and refresh. So that is so yes, we've loaded this data, and if, of course, right now, because the market has closed, there's really probably it's not so much change, no change will actually happen. However, if we were having this webinar during the day when maybe things are moving up and down plenty. What you just need to do is to refresh. You refresh this data set, and it will basically connect to that website again and just update this particular report for you. Now, because we've now loaded it into a table, it looks a bit cleaner. There may be one or two things you want to do. Things like, oh, you want to add the Naira symbol, or you want to add a comma style, that is the thousand separator, because something around value or volume, they need to have the thousand separators so that it looks better. So let's quickly see if we can do that. So closing price, opening price, you can basically give them the symbol. You can give them the symbol of, because they're all Nairas, right? They're all in Naira. So let's quickly come to our home tab. Under the number group, I can come here and say currency, and you go and look for the Naira symbol. I don't know why Excel hasn't updated this to be able to search quickly. However, I have to go down. I must have passed it. So usually there are Naira symbols, plenty around. They call it Igbo, Hausa, Fulani inside this place. I don't know why, but because I'm Yoruba, I just picked the one that has Yoruba here. I just picked the one that has Yoruba and just had it, and it just has my Naira. So every other column that is supposed to be currency, you can apply the Naira. You can apply the Naira symbol to it. Is that clear so far? So as against you going to the app every day, downloading or copying and pasting, you can use Power Query to connect to the web and extract that data and work with. That is one use case of Power Query. I'll quickly take a pause here and ask us if there are any questions that I need to take. There is a second use case that I want to quickly also show us, but let me first ask us any questions. Right. Who raised their hand first? 1 minute. So I see two hands, so I don't want to cheat anybody. All right, Mercy, your hand is here first. Go for it.
Okay. I wanted to ask, is Power Query open source just like Excel, that we can just download it, or you have to like subscribe or something?
Okay, thank you.
Everybody
Fantastic
wants to
question. Sorry, love it.
I'm sorry, it was a mistake. I mistakenly mistake.
All right. So thank you for that question, Mercy. So Power Query is inbuilt. It's Excel inbuilt. So as long as you have Excel from Excel 2016, you're good. If you were using Excel 2013 or Excel 2010, that's when it has to be an added, you have to have as an add-in. But I don't think anybody that is very serious about their data analytics career and you really, really want to progress in your data analytics career, please do not have Excel 2013. That's 10 years old technology. I would expect that somebody you would have so as long as you have those versions, you have Power Query within your Excel. Is that clear, Mercy?
So I'll just search the Excel and write Power Query or what?
Okay. So do you remember the first step I took when I went to the data tab on my where is the data tab now? 1 minute, I'm sharing my screen again. Now, can you see my screen, Mercy?
Yes, I can.
Remember the very first thing I did? I came to the data tab, get and transform data, and I went to the web. I clicked import from web. Then, are you listening? So once I put the URL and that editor that we were in the other time,
Yeah.
once it came in, you were working in Power Query environment. It's still an Excel. It's an Excel functionality. It's just an extended functionality of Excel. Is that clear?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Right. Thank you, Mercy. Jalil, go for it.
Sorry, Tayo, you've answered the question along with the first.
Okay,
You've answered
cool.
it.
Thank you. All right, Adiola.
Okay, thank you, Tayo. So, basically, Power Query only work with data on the web. It doesn't work with application, data on application, does it?
Okay, so there are different use cases of Power Query. Remember, I had said that, oh, I want to show you another use case, but I'm not entirely sure we'll still be able to take it because of our time. Now, Power Query, you can connect to multiple data sources. So let me show you. 1 minute. You can connect to. So one of the use cases is get data from web. Other use cases is you can get data from PDF. You can get data from text. You can get data. Let's look at it together. Adiola, are you with me? Adiola, are you
Yes,
with
I'm
me?
here. Yes, I'm here.
All right.
Thank you.
So you see under your data tab here, get and transform data. Let's explore this one first. It will tell you, ask you from file, from database, from Azure. So you can see how many options that are available to you, right? Can you see
Yes,
it? The
yes,
So it's limitless. Well, let me not say limitless. It's not limitless, but you get the gist
yeah,
that
yeah,
there
exactly.
are other sources that you can connect to. You can so as long as you're in this get and transform data group. So
Okay,
here you can get it from text or CSV. The other bit I wanted to show us is to get it from text or to get it from CSV. But right now I'm even considering the time. Is to get it from CSV. You can get from a folder on your system. The one we used was to get from web. Uh, this one is to get from a table or a range of data set.
mm-hmm.
You can this one is get from a picture from file. This is recent sources, of course, if you've been using it frequently, or get data using an existing connection. That this if you already built a data model before now, right? So there are sources. So if you wanted to connect to other databases, you can actually connect to other databases. Is that clear?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Right. Who's next on my? Let me stop sharing first. Whose hand is next, please? Chiwendu. Uh-oh. You lowered your hand, Chiwendu. All right. Is that to say you don't have any question anymore? Chiwendu, I can see you unmuted your mic, but we can't hear you. Can anybody hear Chiwendu?
No.
No, we can't.
Okay. Chiwendu, if you can hear us, please, you can drop it in the chat room or you go out and come in again. All right, let's attempt to quickly run to the second use case. Then this meeting or this webinar is supposed to be over by 7:30, and let's look at the second use case. So because of I have seen Adiola has a question, so I can imagine how many other person have that curious mind. Now let's assume you're a salesperson. Falabi was trying to give us an example of how it can be working for somebody in sales. So you're a salesperson, you just got your job maybe with Ebano or Spa, and let's assume, I'm not entirely sure, but for the purpose of this conversation, let's say it's a Spa. Spa supermarkets is what I mean. Spa has offices or it has stores in Lagos. Let's assume it also has in Port Harcourt. I'm not entirely sure, but for the purpose of this conversation, and let's say it has in Benin, and let's say it has in Ibadan. That's 4 locations. Now they come to you to say, Afolabi, we like that Afalabi, we like that you've joined us, but we've had this data from 2014 and they're all in this folder for the different locations, blah, 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 blah. We need you to analyze it and we need you. So, which basically means they have data from 2014 till maybe 2023, and maybe they will still have another data for 2024 as time goes on, or it could just be, oh, we have data from from January till August, and this is revolving. We need to always do monthly reports, and we need to measure our sales trajectory from January to August. By the time September finishes, it means September data also needs to climb on top of it. By the time October finishes, October data also needs to climb on top of it, like that, like that. So that's another use case. Somebody that needs to build maybe a sales report, a month-to-month sales report, or if you're a banker or you necessarily need to track how actuals and budgets are working together. That is, different divisions, how are they meeting their budgets, maybe month on month, or you need to do quarter on quarter. And so which means quarter one is gone, quarter two report is due. You necessarily need to, it's a dynamic report. That is not a one-time report. If you're doing it on a monthly basis, which means what you did in August, is that same process you want to repeat in September. Once October report is also ready, you had to, do that thing. So how can you make it at a click of a button? So somebody asked the question that say, how can you refresh the data, right? Right, Chiwendu. So here you go. Let me open my system again. Chiwendu, let me know once you can see my screen. Now, in this case, now that we've loaded this data, you can refresh here, right? You can refresh here. We can see Excel is keeping track of the last time it refreshed. This was the last time we refreshed it. You can refresh on this right hand here, or you can come here, you can see refresh all, and you can basically refresh all. So it will pick fresh data and show you. Chiwendu, is that clear?
Yes, it is. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Right. So let's look at that person that is a salesperson that is so I have prepared this sales data for Benin, Ibadan, Lagos, and Port Harcourt. Now let's just take a quick look into these data sets, and they are all saved in CSV format, and that's because the data file is quite large. So I put it in CSV just to show you that it does not necessarily have to be saved in Excel format. If this data was even in text format, you could still use Power Query on it. So I'm going to open Benin Sales just so you have an idea of what it looks like. So that's loading. Now because it's in CSV, I'm going to attempt to clean it. Right, so this Benin data set, and the entire data set here reads 216,000. The entire records here is 216,079. Now, I saved it in CSV because the file was large and I needed something smaller. So here you can see this question mark there, which means something is wrong. It's either a symbol or a currency symbol that's supposed to be there, correct? And it's giving me back in question mark. So let's close this file. This Benin. Let's look at Ibadan. So we can see in the data for Benin that we are seeing, one thing that is constant, that should necessarily be constant across your files, especially if you want to probably pull from a folder and you just want to keep, you want the automation to keep continuing, your column headers should be the same. So for example, in the Benin file that we opened, we saw city, date, sales, and store ID. Let me open it again. So let me open Benin. I don't want to open all of them so much. I'm very low on RAM. I don't want my system to crash right now. So this is Benin. You can see the same thing that was in the other file: city, date, sales, and store ID. Those 4 columns, and those are the 4 column header in my files. So I'm just going to close it to tell you that if you find yourself in this situation, so let's assume in another 2 months down the line, Spar now has a new store or a new location, and the location is in Benue, and what you can basically do is drop that Benue file, just drop it here, and you also what you need to do is to refresh. You don't need to start analyzing from the beginning again. What you need to do is just click that refresh button, and Benue sales would also be automatically picked. So let's see how we can analyze this data quickly. Hopefully we're able to finish it before 7:30. But here, so I'm going to open a new Excel file, and just very similar to what we were doing earlier. So you can get data from file. If you wanted to pick it one after the other, you can also get from text or CSV in my case, I may want to get from CSV, but in this case, I want to get from folder because I want to analyze the entire thing in that folder. So I'm going to just quickly look for the path where my stuff is. I think it was in Power Query dataset, right? All right, Power Query dataset, sales data. I can't really remember. Was it here? Right, it was here. So you can see we're inside our Power Query editor, and Excel has automatically, or Power Query has detected the things inside that that data, that folder we're in. So it has seen if Benin sales, Ibadan sales, Lagos sales, Port Harcourt sales. The extension or the file type is CSV, that is comma separated values. Basically, just giving me idea of the other attributes of that particular data set. So in this kind of situation, okay, I may not be able to finish this particular one before we finish before our time goes up. In this kind of situation, you can see that the options available to me is quite different from the ones that when we wanted to do the one on the web. And that's because in this case, Excel has examined the column headers and all of it, they are the same. So which means it's basically going to ask me, do I want to combine them into one single file? So that's why you see combine, and you can see combine and transform data, combine and load to. I can see there's also whether I just want to load it straight up. There's also I just want to transform the data. So this time around, let's attempt to combine and transform the data because I can see that so the data is a bit not entirely clean. All right, so Excel is basically Power Query is actually showing me a preview of what the data looks like. Of course, remember our question mark from that place, from the very first file. So it's basically showing me based on what it can see, and I'm saying yes, that looks okay. So you would see that it's evaluating the query, and our Power Query editor is coming up, and you can see that thing running plenty. So Excel Power Query has attempted to look at it and evaluate and automatically put the correct. So the ones it has seen the ones for Benin. Excuse me, please. Benin sales. And if you remember vividly the other time, the data set was much more than, it was over 200. Each of the files were over 200,000. So because it hasn't loaded everything, but just to tell you that it's trying to tell me that, oh, the file that has been in CSV, blah blah blah, and all of this is what is inside it, and this is the data type I can see in there. Now you can see just the way we attempted to edit the other one. So the date is correct, the city is correct, that is, it's seeing it as text, date is seeing it as date. This sales here is seeing it as text. And that's basically because of this question mark in front of it. So because I'm human, I know it should be numbers or it should be. So we're going to attempt to look for wherever we find question mark, we want to tell it to replace it with nothing, right? So at least we can have our own numbers. So let's attempt to quickly do that. Right. So I would want to tell it to look for wherever it says, where's question mark on this keyboard? Wherever it says question mark, I say replace with nothing. And all right. Oh, I didn't highlight it before. 1 minute. So I'm going to tell it wherever you find that guy, please replace with nothing. Now, so we've seen that we've gotten rid of our question mark. Now it's still seeing it as text. So I'm going to tell it to say its old number or its currency. So let me just put it as currency since it's money, right? So of course, we're familiar with this process already. Also, and this is the store ID. So remember our 4 columns. the city, the date, the sales, and the store ID. So basically, the transformation I wanted to do, I've quickly done it here. Then I can load it to Microsoft Excel, or I can either load it to Microsoft Excel or load it to a model. Now, I prefer to load things to model. That is, by model, it basically means I want to create connections, or in my case, most times, I don't want to, when I have large files, remember the file, the records in the first file was over 200,000. The other files were also over 200,000, which means 4 files together, I'll be having close to 1 million. And if you're familiar with what Excel's capacity for numbers of rows is 1,048,000 thereabout. So I don't want to risk it. I don't want to load it to Excel, and I don't want it to slow down my system, so that we can leave this place in good time. So I'm not going to load it to Excel table, but ideally, very similar to the way we did for our stock prices, you can come here, close. You can close, and you can close and load it to an Excel table, and you'll see it come out in Excel table. Okay, let's attempt to load it to Excel table. Okay, so I've said close and load to close and load, and we're trying to. This is where my heart will be cutting. Again, this is basically because I have a lot of things opened on my system, and I really don't want it, but it's still taking its time to load my data. So basically, I just wanted us to see how we are basically attempted to combine 4 different CSV files, and we're going to try to see how it come out all in an Excel table. And whatever analysis you want to do, you can continue performing that analysis. And if tomorrow a new data set comes, maybe a new store opens up in Benue, all you have to do is to go and carry Benue data, drop it inside that folder, and come and refresh this. Come and click refresh button, and you're good to go. Are we good? Now, my fear is already happening because it's taking forever. If you look at the right, towards the right-hand side, it's telling me how much rows it has loaded. And this is like close to 500,000. It's just 2 files that it has done so far. So it's still taking time. And so while that is happening, I'm just going to go away, because this is going to get about 1 million thereabouts. There's a lot of records in that particular file. So just also to reiterate that it's not only the web that you can connect to as your data source. Even an existing CSV file on your system, you can connect to them. You can also connect to PDF. You can connect to external databases, right? It's endless. If I could use the word, it's endless. Well, maybe not endless, but you get the gist. It's something that can make your boring work very, very fast and easy. So I'm going to bring it to a wrap here. I'm going to take other questions because I respect your time. I really want us to also be, I want to keep the time. So do we have any questions? Somebody is asking. I should recap how to refresh later. All right, Oluwatayo, you will get the training recording, and but basically I already showed Chiwendo how to refresh the data set. All right, let me know if there are any question. Any question, guys? Before, okay, Afolabi, go for it.
Me.
Sorry?
I said none from me.
All right, thank you. Afolabi, go for it.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate your time, and your section was so exacting. My question is that is this all about data analysis, or is there any maybe more deeper, and I didn't know the word I could use. Is it more complex than this? Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to attempt to rephrase your question. I'm not entirely sure I got it well. You're wondering if it is more complex than this. Is that the question?
Yes, that's the question. That is this all about data analysis? Just this your explanation now. is this just all about data analysis, or is it more complex or still more deeper than this?
Okay, thank you, Afolabi. Now, data analytics is not is not only this. If I'm to give you a straight and forward answer, there are a lot more things that needs to be done when it comes to data analytics. What we have done right now, we've just basically done extraction and transformation, right? Data analytics is much more broader than this. Of course, we've not even talked about how you're going to probably make visualizations. How, again, data analytics transcends, using tools to transform data and visualizing data. The end goal of analytics itself is how you're able to bring to make decisions from the data you have gathered, or to so for example, let's say that data set has finished loading. We may want to see the question may be, so which store is not performing well? Which store is bottom performing? If there were product name, you may want to also see what products are not doing well. What can you do? If you add your customers' data, you can segregate them. So what can we do to drive sales in this region? What can we do to probably do? There are a lot of, so there are a lot of data. There are types of data. So what we just did is to data analytics cannot be finished in 1.5 hours, right? No, it's a big discipline itself. So what we just did is just extract and try to manipulate one or two things. We've not talked about data cleaning itself. Data cleaning is very, very big. Also, you want to do data visualization. If I were a stakeholder, the management or in the management position, I wouldn't expect that I'm doing this. I want to probably just see a summary report of what is going on in the company. I would expect that a data analyst provides me maybe in form of a report that has visualizations and tell me what they have seen from the data and what are the recommended decisions I need to take. Do you understand? And that is when data analytics is complete, when you can basically make sense of that data and bring forth recommendations and actions or necessary actions are taken to effect a change. Afolabi, is that clear?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, great. Thank you. Victor, your hand is up.
Victoria, good evening,
Oh,
everyone.
Victoria, sorry.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time, Madam Tayo. So I just want to ask a quick one. Can one be a top-notch data analyst with just using Excel and Power BI? I am certain that Excel and Power BI doesn't require coding, while others like Python and R and the rest of them require coding. So can one be a perfect data analyst without the Python, the coding part of data analysis?
Okay, thank you for your question, Victoria. Right, so again, this is where your personal aspirations come in. Excuse me. This is where your personal aspirations come in. Do we have brilliant data analysts that it's only Excel they are using? Yes. Do we have brilliant data analysts, or do we have mediocre or rubbish data analysts and that they know all the tools? It's also yes. Now, the tools is more about how you're going to be able to make decisions out of them. Some tools have limitation. I wouldn't lie to you, Excel has its limitation. Limitation in the sense that the volume or the amount of data it can handle. So you can imagine, I was here wondering, hey God, this data, it should not crash my system, or it should not, or it will be more than 1 million, and the maximum Excel will contain in its rows is 1 million. Except if I want to, that was why I said, I'd rather build a connection and not load it into Excel itself. Build a connection, it will basically means Power Query is connecting to those individual files where they are sitting and just giving me like a pseudo numbers that is not sitting with that inside Excel. I'm trying to see how I can explain it. So what I'm trying to say, Excel has its limitation to say, maybe it would be able to take a few millions of data, while a Python can take hundreds of millions of data. So of course, that's why I said your career aspirations and what you want to do, where you find yourself. If you find yourself in an organization where they are dealing with large amounts of data, maybe Excel is not the only thing you would need to learn. Of course, the rudiments are based on Microsoft Excel. Yes, Microsoft Power BI is a fantastic one also. You would have heard of Python, you would have heard of R. However, you need advanced skills. Yes, you probably need to learn a little tiny bit of coding when it comes to you wanting to use Python as time goes along. However, do you need to start somewhere? Yes. What's the simplest tool that even exists on your laptop today that you can start using to understand the rudiments? It's Microsoft Excel. Do you understand that now, Victoria?
Yes, Tayo, thank you so much. I appreciate this.
You're welcome. Right, because even in some other, I'm just trying to remember. I have a friend who uses Python, and the other day I think I was working on VBAs, and it's VBA is an Excel technology, and it was like he didn't even know anything like that existed. There had other time he had issues with work with DAX functions. He had never heard about DAX before, and this is somebody who already uses Python. But that particular challenge that he was facing at work that particular time, he could use them. He could use DAX. He could use VBA to get things done, and they were Excel technologies. So again, it's on your preference, what you want to learn first, and grow into things. So I think I've been able to answer your question. I wanted to quickly show you. So the data set has loaded. Let me quickly show you. Don't mind me. I'm always when it comes to my system is a wonderful one. Right. So we can see. Oh, I should have taken out this column in our Power Query editor. This column is basically telling me the source that it connected to, the name of the file it connected to. So the Benin Sales CSV. So let me just scroll down and you would see, okay, I won't scroll down. I'll just use this filter button just so you can see all the data types that is here. So our 4 stores are already in this data. So Benin Sales, Ibadan, Lagos Sales, Port Harcourt Sales. So I can basically perform my analysis. So which means if I wanted to plug in a pivot table to analyze Benin, Lagos, Port Harcourt, I can quickly do it in this one file. So let's say let's attempt to do something, and I know we're out of time. So I'm going to probably duplicate this guy and no, I won't duplicate it. I'm just going to quickly create a light file and save it as CSV and put it in that folder. And we will attempt to refresh it. 1 minute, please. I'm just going to create something like this. And I'm going to paste it as, sorry. Are you still following?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Right. Oh shoot,
Yes,
I
yeah.
changed this to. Thank you very much. Here's our date. Right. I'm going to call this row Benue. And let's have Benue. What else? I'm just going to, for the sake of explanation, so we'll call it Benue, and I'm going to save it as a CSV. Where was it? 1 minute. I want to quickly save it in that folder called whatever it was called, sales data. Yeah. I'm going to save it Benue sales. Benue, right? Is that Benue now? All right, so I'm going to close Benue. I'm coming here. I think somebody in the chat room was asking how to refresh. I can't really remember who, but hey. So if I wanted to see the queries and connections, I click on queries and connection. It comes in and you can see that it is refreshing. It is refreshing that data. So once it has loaded all those rows, I can come here and you will see that one of my cities would also show as Benue. So basically, that's the bit I wanted to show you to say if you continuously, let's assume let's assume you continuously have, so a new store opens, a Benue store opens, another store opens, a Bomosho store opens, and you want to keep having that data in one, you can. You don't always necessarily have to load it into an Excel table. Of course, at another time, if we have the time, we could, at another time, one of our other stuff, we can talk about building data models where you don't have to go through this headache. I'm actually trying to not go through. Right. So, I hope that, yeah, Oluwashun said she had. Well, I don't know if it's a she or he. All right. So, so thank you guys. So the other bit I wanted to quickly, two other things before we call it a night. We have another session like this next week. I didn't correct me if I'm wrong. Next week, Tuesday, correct? And that is on data cleaning. That is on data cleaning. We can go in depth into data cleaning and understand how data, by data cleaning, the dirty data that I've been mentioning before and the little transformation we've been doing here, we're going to see it on another different scale, that is industry level scale, and how you can use it. So, and come next weekend, and that's September 30th, not this weekend, next weekend, we're starting a data analytics class that will run for 4 weekends. That is Saturdays and Sundays. Where this is the third cohort we're having this year. We've been having with some individual students in the UK and in Nigeria before now. A lot of people that had attempted to leave the country and they wanted to enhance their skills. So we're going to be starting a new data analytics class on September 30th. This is the curriculum. Adenike, please let me paste the URL in the chat room. This is the curriculum or the things we'll be treating with Microsoft Excel, and at least where you can start your data analytics journey from without thinking of coding. Depending on your career aspirations, you can then take it one step at a time. Sometimes in November, we would add SQL to our data analytics curriculum, then Power BI, then the Python that I think like 2 people have mentioned on this call already. So yes, we are starting that class on September 30th. If you would like to register for the class, please click on the link Adenike is going to drop in the chat room, and please register for the course. It's for 4 weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. It's starting September 30th and it would end October 22nd. It's going to be you working with real life data sets, and you're going to be making insightful decisions with this data set. Or if you perhaps want to, you still want to talk more, and we also have bonus classes coming up in the course where we are able to see how artificial intelligence is integrating with Microsoft Excel, how you can automate repetitive tasks with AI really, or how you can use ChatGPT within Microsoft Excel. So we'll look at all of that as bonus classes. And also, if you believe you're still not convinced yet, and you want to have another you want to have a, what's it called now? Not have a conversation. Of course, we can have that conversation on the same website. You're able to book a free consultation. We can get on a call together to help you clarify whatsoever it is that you really need to clarify about data analytics. So, I'll wrap up the class right now, and let's see if our stuff has finished loading. Let's see if we. Now, if you can still see my screen. Now you can now see the Benue data that we added is now reflecting here. So which means all you just have to do is, as long as we all have the same column headers, that is the same column headers, you can just keep updating that folder and you have automated boring task. So which means you don't have to go through the long process of extracting the data, cleaning the data from head to toe again. Excel or Power Query will automatically apply those steps that you've taken in the first file. It will apply it here, and you can easily just, with a click of refresh button, it refreshes, and you can insert tables, or you can start inserting your charts or start analyzing it. So I'm going to delete this column that has a source name. You can start analyzing it, maybe insert a pivot table and start putting things together. And as time goes on, even if you create a chart, even if you create a chart out of this particular data set, that is graphs, line graphs, column chart, and all of that, with a click of that refresh button, if anything new has happened in the folder where the files are, with a click of that refresh button, it automatically updates itself, your report, so you can have a dynamic report at all times. You can then share it on SharePoint. Depends on organization you're working in. I'm sure a lot of enterprises still use Microsoft Suite. So you can share it on SharePoint and you can deploy it to everybody in the organization. Let's say you're in HR and you basically need to create a simple report, or you're in financial control, or you're in cost management, or you're in finance, right? So you can use, there are a lot of use cases where you can use Power Query to automate your boring or your repetitive task, right? So that is our data. If you wanted to see breakdown by cities and the total sales per city, you can easily see that. I think something has broken, but just so you know, just so you can see, Benue is now in the data set also, and we didn't have to start the process from the beginning anymore. All right, so my scarf came up. All right, so that basically wraps up the class for today. Mercy, no, we don't have cybersecurity classes. Christopher, I do not know when you asked the question. When you said paid or free, the one for next week, the data cleaning class for next week is free. The school that is starting, the classes that are starting from September 30th is a paid class for 70,000 naira for 4 weekends. All right, guys, thank you so much. All right, thank you so much. And this brings me to the end of the class. Thank you. You will get other invitation for the free class coming up next week, Tuesday. Thank you for joining. Once the recording is available, we will send it to you via email. All right, we'll host it on YouTube and you get it via email. Thank you so much. Jennifer, it is 70,000 naira. And we will also send you the link to register via email. Adenike already dropped it in the chat room. So we would also send it to you via email. Thank you so much. If you also want to book a consulting session to ask your questions, you can also book on that website. Thank you. Thank you, Mercy. Thank you, Precious. And have a good evening. Thank you, Christopher. Jennifer,
thank you for having us.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye.